Hi, my name is HY and welcome to my channel. I'm just cleansing the space with my singing bowl before getting started, and I invite you to take a few deep breaths before we begin so that you can ground and center yourself before the reading. Hi, and welcome to another pick a card reading with me. Today's pick a card reading is how to feel more secure in yourself. So if you've been struggling to kind of feel connected to yourself, or you just feel like you're lacking confidence, or just going through a period of maybe feeling a little anxious and want to feel more grounded in yourself, this is the reading for you. We have 3 piles. So just to quickly explain for those who are new to pick a card reading, pick one of the piles that you feel drawn to or you feel there's a resonance with. I have different crystals up here. So this is a red coral, a fluorite, and a blue calcite, and a howlite. For some reason, it didn't feel right to just have one of these, so I put them together. But yeah, the timestamps will be below in the description, and yeah, I'll see you in your reading. So, welcome to pile 1. You picked the pile with the red coral. So, before we quickly dive in, the red coral, I just thought I would mention some positives about it. So, it's really good. It's often red coral is often associated with courage and confidence and overcoming fear. So it can help dispel feelings of anger or frustration and assist in healing emotional wounds. And also with the chakra connection, it's often connected with the root chakra, so it gives more this grounding and helps stabilizes your energy. So yeah, that might kind of come forward in the reading today, it might not, but yeah, I guess there's a reason why you feel drawn to it. So let's get started with your cards. Okay, so you have the Ace of Wands. Ooh, the World card, which is a very favorable card in the tarot. 2 of Cups. 3 of Wands. So you have 2 wands, or 2 card wands. And Queen of Cups. Okay. So right off the bat, I have to say, this feels so colorful, doesn't it? I kind of love that there's all these red accents. So anywhere you look. And also there's a bit of this duality going on here. I guess also 2 mushrooms. But yeah, just thought I would quickly kind of look. And also you have cups and you have wands. So that's just a bit of an overview. Before I'm going to dive into each card, I will go one by one, but just an overview of what the first impressions are. So let's start with the Ace of Wands. So in tarot, wands are associated with the element of fire, and that has to do with action, so taking action. Ace always means the beginning of something. So maybe there's a new project that you are waiting to take action on that is lighting you up. You are feeling really energized by it. I feel like this is this energy that's just feeding you to do this work. I do really like the red behind this. I don't know why. The wings are really speaking to me for some reason. It's you have the red here, but this pinkish behind. Maybe you have this thing that really energizes you, but then behind it you have this more softer love, the support that's coming in behind it. I don't know, there's something like that. And maybe I'm picking up from this being in the reading, which we'll get to. But yeah, I think it's just an energizing time. So the World card in tarot, very favorable card. And I think it's because it's basically saying this abundance of the world. But I think in tarot, I usually do also an intuitive read, so I'm kind of looking at what jumps out of me in these cards. And I can't help but really focus in on like the duality. It's kind of saying like the shadow and the light side. And I think there's this fine dance of avoidance with each other within yourself that, you know, you feel there's this shadow side of you that you are, yeah, you are kind of co-creating with, but maybe, what's it saying? I feel like my eyes are really drawn to the black fish for some reason. I feel like you are doing the work. I feel like you are recognizing your shadows. And to be honest, this part of you actually feels seen, which is, you know, not always the case. A lot of people like to ignore their shadow part, but I think you're someone who's done a lot of work. You are kind of, there is this nice coexistence with it. But I feel like there's a message here with this black fish, because I still feel very drawn to this black fish, and I'm trying to kind of figure out what it's trying to say. I think it's like you are doing really good work, but you might not be doing enough. You maybe don't give this enough space, but I think you're getting, I think it's a bit of like, this card is just a bit of a reminder that keep going. Like, you're doing really well and you are making space for this. It just needs maybe a little bit more space. And you might be thinking like, how much does it need? But I think sometimes these things, they take the time that they take the space that they need. And it's just a bit of a reminder that it needs more space. I also kind of think that, like, going back to this, I think I'm just realizing the parallel between these colors. And it just feels like in this darkness, there's a lot of light. And there's a lot of action to be taken that lights you up, that you feel really good about. But it needs almost like more. I think it needs more of your attention. But I would encourage, I don't want you to feel deflated. I think what you're doing is really good. I think it's just, yeah, it just needs more. Yeah. And only then can you really get this world, this abundance. Okay, so then moving on to the Two of Cups. Again, I love the duality. So the Two of Cups in the traditional tarot is a very favorable card when it comes to love. It's like the card you want to see when you're doing a love reading. So cups, it's associated with the element of water, which is associated with emotions. It can often feel like, you know, your cup is filled. I think there's someone in your life. I think this is kind of saying that there is someone in your life that you feel supports you and kind of sees you for you. Because I think it's easy for you to kind of feel like this one's a bit like in the background. Like he's kind of like camouflaged in. And I think it's easy for you to feel that in your life, a little bit like not seen and maybe fully understood, but there is someone in your life, you know, may it be like a friend, a family member, a partner that you feel really sees you. And you have a lot of like parallels with each other. There's a lot of like synchronicities or like I think you have a lot of similarities, even though from the outset it looks like such difference, right? Like one's red, one's blue. But I think it's just like it's such a mirror image in so many ways that maybe emotionally you feel the parallels, that there's a lot of sameness here. And I think, the moon also symbolizes intuition. So I think intuitively you feel very at peace with this or like very seen, very at peace, very, yeah, it's really nice. And I guess also as you're doing this work within, this feels a bit like, in Stranger Things where there is like the, what's it called? The Upside Down. I was about to say the underworld, which it's not quite the same, but the Upside Down. Like it just feels like this like really murky place, but there's a lot of hope there. There's a lot of growth and hope and transformation. I feel like is this, I've always thought of this like it's eating this bug, but maybe it's coming out of its. I'll be very honest, I don't know the life cycle of a dragonfly, but do they kind of come out of like a butterfly? No, maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe I'm trying to pull too many strings there, but I think the point is when you venture into your equivalent of the Upside Down, you have done such good work and you feel so energized to do this work, and it just needs a bit more of that for you to feel more secure. You're in the right place and you feel so seen and supported by this person in your life that intuitively you just know that it's good. Okay, so 3 of Wands. I also really like that the squirrel's like looking at what's going on. I guess the snail kind of is too. They're all pointing at this direction. So again, wands, like we have here, element of fire, action, doing, and often the number 3 in numerology is a very social number. It's about like party and celebration and socializing. And I think there's a part of you that is kind of looking. I think I just really love how the squirrel is just like looking at everything else. And it's like you're really taking stock of your life right now. You're really looking towards where you are, what you're doing. And I think you're trying to kind of make a plan for the future. It feels like this is pointing in the other direction, which this is the past, this is the future. This here is the present. Maybe this I guess is supposed to be a wand. It's also interesting because these look quite like old, these sticks. And I think you have choices of like where to go. But these could also be old plans. And I think you're trying to kind of take stock and be like, do these plans still make sense for me? Like, I've had these plans for so long and I know my life can go this direction, this direction, this direction. But I don't know if that like lights you up anymore because these look so drained of color. And you're standing on this new like prefaces, this new branch that's like thriving with color. And you're thinking, maybe there's a new direction in my life. And I think for you to kind of figure that out, you're kind of looking towards that reflection piece of like, what is life? Where am I currently? What is filling my cup? What is energizing me? I just think this color and this energy. Yeah. I also really like the colors, how they shift. And it's almost as though it shifts a little bit into this green here. Maybe this is a little bit saying of where you've been. Do the colors match up? Maybe not. I mean, a little bit. There's a little bit of that, I do love seeing colors and the patterns that the colors bring. Yeah, there's some green here as well. Yeah, I think the reason also why this one's a little bit different is because this is also bringing in someone else's energy, whereas here, this is you. Oh. And I think, yeah, with this green? I'm feeling like there's more to say on this card with this green. I'm not quite sure what it is. I think there's a bit of this idea of like, there's this like presence in your life, like this, let's say this green is symbolic of like this presence in your life, and you're kind of overlooking it a little bit. And I think it's something that you need to kind of reconsider this green. So that's very abstract. I think, is it the same green? No, like it looks the same, but I'm not vibing that. I think it's a little bit like there's this part of your life that you're kind of ignoring. I think that's kind of the messaging I'm getting. There's a part of your life, you're ignoring it a little bit, and it's you don't do that with bad intentions. I think it's just hasn't quite been a priority in your life, but it's very much a presence in your life that needs attention. And I think it's so easy to get caught up in these things that you do kind of need to consider this green that's coming in. Oh. Yeah. I know this feels a bit random. Maybe throughout the reading we'll get a bit more clarity on that. So, Queen of Cups. So, again, cups, emotions. Queen, if you think of the archetype of a queen, it's someone who, you know, is in their power, is in their authority, also very much in their feminine power. And feminine power can be, you know, someone who's very connected to their intuition, to their body, and has that grounding element. So it could have those like qualities, but with their emotions. So I think for you here, it's like you've worked really hard to fill your emotional cup, and you can see there's so much growth, there's so much abundance. And I think it's taken a really long time to kind of figure out all the soil to make everything grow and to really feel this fulfillment. It's taken you a long time to get here. And I think you're just kind of celebrating it. And for some reason, this green and this green feels more connected to me than this and this. And I have no clue why. It's just, like I say, I do an intuitive read. I'm trying to kind of understand this. There's this presence. There's this presence in your life that, you know, emotionally also it's like very much there, and you think you feel fulfilled. I think you just don't give it attention, or maybe it's yearning to be recognized in your life. It could be something like, oh, working out gives you such emotional fulfillment, and it is there, but you're maybe like not giving it the attention that it needs in your life. Working out is just an example. It could be anything. It could be cooking, could be finances, could be, but there's something that has an emotional resonance that, yeah, I think it just needs a bit of your attention. Yeah. Okay, cool. So, let's see. I have more cards for you. Okay, so we have the Six of Pentacles, the Knight of Wands, the Two of Swords, and the Hierophant. Okay, so what does this all mean? Okay, so the Six of Pentacles. Pentacles is related to the earthly realm. Or I mean to the element of earth, and that's connected to the earthly realm. So money is part of that. It can also be things like materialistic things. So in the traditional tarot, it's depicted as like this person who's giving money to beggars. And there's that essence of like charity, or someone, you know, feels the need to beg and things like that. And I think what's kind of standing out to me is this pink and the blue. Like I feel like I think you're trying to figure out, where does your abundance kind of come in? So I think what I'm kind of picking up on, I think this pink here just feels so drawn to the pink here. And I feel like this is kind of the direction that you are kind of now in. And you're wondering, is this where I need to be going? And I think there is a lot of abundance in this. There's a lot of giving in this. There's a lot of you giving. And I can't help think that this blue is also kind of connected here. That there's like, I think it's talking about this relationship where there's a lot of giving. For some reason, I'm also feeling that some people feel drained. There's something very draining here. And I think there's a little bit of the sense of there's a lot of love and giving, and there's a lot of abundance. I do see there is abundance. And maybe also you've just been having to like work so hard for this abundance. You feel there's a lot of giving. And I think for some, yeah, it has maybe to do with this relationship, even though you feel really seen and your cup's really full here. I think there's a sense of, there's a lot of sense of give and take, and because this doesn't feel as abundant. This feels really abundant. I think I have to come back to this one. I think I'm feeling a little, there's something very draining about this card. There's something that is just, it's not quite sitting right. It's like, I think you have a habit of giving a lot, and maybe giving so much that you almost ignore your own needs. And although you feel this giving is very abundant, because it is, it's maybe how you show your love. But I also think it takes a bit of a toll on you because maybe you don't have a boundary quite. That I think there's a bit of this boundary, like you need a bit of a boundary in your giving. It's not that this relationship's bad. I think it's just taking a little bit more of a look of understanding yourself. Because this video is ultimately, how do you feel more secure in yourself? And I think if there's this element of you give because it fills you up, there is an abundance in there. And it's the route you want to go. But sometimes this taking in this relationship, it feels draining. And it's not to say that this other person is just a taker. I'm not saying that. I think it's more to do with you don't know when to stop giving in order to heal yourself or protect yourself, because there is a need for that balance because it's draining you. And I'm not saying to give less, I'm just saying to know the circumstances that are appropriate for you to give, or you know, I think ask yourself, is me giving, is this coming at a cost to myself, whether that be my time, my energy, my I was gonna say well-being, but I guess the other two kind of feed into that. Because maybe you have instances where you feel really tired, but you push yourself to give because you know that giving is part of who you are. So I think there's just a bit of this boundary there. Yeah, it just feels like a big drain. Okay, Knight of Wands. Okay, again, Wands, fire, action, Knight. Taking that action, you know, archetype of a knight is someone who charges forward, who does something, you know, quickly. I think there's something you're very passionate about and you have the gusto to make happen. I think it's again speaking to this relationship. I think you really love this person. There's so much love and there's so much, like, I guess this person just looks really determined. Like, there's so much determination for this relationship. And I think I don't want this drain to feel like, oh, am I in the wrong relationship? Is the dynamic off? All these things. Because I think there's a lot of love. There's a lot of just like, you will defend this relationship. And you should, because it's part of who you are. And I think definitely, yeah, be that person. I also just noticed this pink here. You're the one giving, but you're also the one who's very quick to say, I will defend this relationship, and you should. Hi everyone. Sorry for the shift. I got really worried that the sun was coming in through the window, and I looked at the footage and I was right to be worried because this was completely white. But I've decided, instead of kind of, you know, sometimes when these hits come in the moment, they're kind of hard to refilm, even though I know I could describe all this again, but I think I'm just going to kind of overlay it with the image of it when it's not completely whitewashed, and just chalk this up to, I'm learning, I'm new to recording the tarot videos. Yeah, I think I'll be the first to own that I work as a content producer, so video, I should know better. I think I was just hoping to use the natural light, but that was obviously too powerful. And I was having some doubts as I was reading. But you know, you get so into the read, it's hard to stop sometimes. But just to kind of finish off what I was saying with the Knight of Wands is, I think these two cards, more so that these two cards are just kind of saying, you need boundaries. It has nothing to do with your lack of love or anything like that. Like, there's a lot of passion and love. It's just about having boundaries so that you know yourself better, and you know when you give, if you give too much, or when you give and it starts hurting you. Now, the Two of Swords. Swords is related to the element of air, which is related to the intellect, to thinking, to things in the mind. And often Two of Swords, it means that you've come to a crossroads. You're a bit at a stalemate, that you're trying to think. You're in between two choices and you're not sure what way to go. And this can also link back to what we kind of talked about over here, that like what direction to take your life in. Because I think you had a plan, but you're reassessing that plan. And with that reassessment comes a lot of moments of indecision. You're not really sure what way to go, and I think mentally you feel a bit confused over this. I would say that it could be you just have to sit down and make some decisions. It could be you need to kind of listen and tune in more to your intuition and your body. And I know you're doing a lot of work with that here, like looking at your shadow side and all these things, but I think your mind feels confused, but maybe the answers are in your body. And the Hierophant, also moving into the Hierophant, the Hierophant is a very spiritual card. So maybe there's also a little bit of an element of that you need to resign to like this higher power and to have faith that what is meant for you will find you. And I think maybe you're a bit stuck in this idea of having to try to figure things out and making decisions, when maybe sometimes the best thing to do is recognize you can't think your way out of it, and to recognize that if you kind of resign to that, the universe or whatever you believe in, like God, the universe, whatever the name, the higher power essentially. If you just resign to that, the universe has your back and whatever is meant for you will find you. You can ease this tension of having to make all these decisions and just know that you are in safe hands. And I'm not saying not to take action. I think it's very important to tune in with yourself and take aligned action, but I think there's just this reminder of kind of sitting, because this person looks like they're in prayer, but if you don't pray, maybe that's sitting in meditation or checking in with your body kind of, and just, I also like that there's this like cube around her head, and I think for me in this instance it's kind of a bit like, don't listen to the outside world, don't be influenced by the outside world, check in with yourself and have faith that what you want and the dreams that you so desire will happen. You have to take aligned action, but you don't have to stress about every decision. You don't have to stress about every crossroads, because sometimes the right answer will find you. Maybe you just have to have a bit of patience and give it time. Yeah, so I have some more cards. Knight, be brave and honest. Oh, I love that this knight has come up again. Peacekeeper, let go of the need to be right. Oh, interesting. Again, I think there's a little bit of this. Let go. Not that you necessarily have to be right, but maybe you're scared of making the wrong decision. So this is why you're in a situation of indecision. Because you're like, oh, I don't want to make the wrong decision. But it's okay. It's okay not to always make the right decision, because know that in your faith, the right thing will find you and will have your back. Oh, wow. I've never seen this card. Medicine Mother. Honor your inner knowing. Wow. What an interesting card. It's so cool when you see, I've had this deck for years, yet I haven't seen all the cards. This is quite cool. Lord. Take charge with authority. Okay, so a lot more to unpack here. So let's start with the Knight. Of course, what's amazing is also, we've had the Knight come up here. So I do think there's a part of you that's, a bit of a Knight, or you have this energy of a Knight of taking action. Maybe you're a fire sign in the zodiac. Fire signs are Aries, Leo, Sagittarius, And maybe if that's not your sun sign, you maybe have it in your top three, so sun, moon, or rising. And there's like this energy of night within you. Be brave and honest. It's so interesting because there's a lot, I feel like, a lot of parallels in this card to other parts of the reading. So one is the knight. The other thing is the sword. Look how he's resigned. So instead of being here in battle, in the stalemate, the knight's resigned. He's not necessarily ready for battle. He's resigned. He has a bit of this energy. It looks like he's in prayer. And to be brave and honest, again, I feel like it goes into this work. And I think you are, I get the sense you are a very brave person. And, you know, I think night sometimes it can be, if you have a lot of fire, it can maybe be impulsive. But I think you've done this work. I think you've done this work within you, that you know yourself well in that aspect, that I'm not talking about impulsiveness, I'm talking about bravery. And I think you are an evolved version of the knight, that your action is brave. And the honesty can come with maybe having to dive deeper into this and continue doing this work. But also just have faith. I do really like how they both have their eyes closed in prayer. Or meditation, whatever calls to you. Here, the peacekeeper. Let go the need to be right. I kind of like that. Is she holding this pipe? And I kind of like that there's... Oh, I thought he was blowing out smoke. I see now that the smoke was coming from the pipe. That makes... Maybe he's breathing it in, though. I wonder if you're calling in a bit of this peacekeeper energy. Like, I do still think this will need to be right. What I said earlier about you're scared of making the wrong decision. But I also think there's a bit of this, like, need for this peacekeeper energy. I think there is a bit of, like with this, I'm not saying that there's necessarily tension. I think sometimes maybe you guys get into a bit of conflict, and conflict in whatever relationship doesn't have to be a bad thing. Often that's how we grow. But maybe you're just feeling a little bit of this need for this peacekeeper. And I think there is also just like the blatant message of let go of the need to be right. And maybe sometimes you get very passionate about like your stances, or you're maybe a bit stubborn. And maybe there's just this, yeah, a little bit of this like want to have a bit more of this peace. I think there is already a lot of peace. I don't want to say that this relationship is like tumultuous or anything like that. But maybe sometimes in your conflicts, there is a bit of, because of your stubbornness, and maybe there is a bit of this like, yeah, it's okay not to be right all the time. And I think there's this want for peace in those moments. I think it's more that. There's more of that you want a peacekeeper in those moments of tension. Not that they happen often. I don't know. Maybe for some they do. I think overall this is a very good and strong relationship. I just think in those moments you could do with a bit of clarity, I guess. And maybe this is part of that demon that you're like looking at, this like need to be right. And you want a bit of that peace to come in those moments of tension. And maybe it doesn't have to necessarily only be this relationship. Maybe it's in many of your relationships. Okay, medicine mother, honor your inner knowing. I kind of love that this came up. I don't know why. Maybe it's because, like I said, I'd never seen it before. It's so interesting to see these teeth. No, they're horns. Okay, comment down below. Or do we know what these are? Horns, and from what animal? So honor your inner knowing, which I always think when it comes to feeling more secure in ourselves, there's so much that our body knows. There's so much wisdom. And sometimes it's also just aligning your head with what your body knows. But I think this card came up for as like a reminder to like check in with yourself and to just know that you know best. I think this is where you can sometimes get a bit stuck in your head. Here also, like I said, it's so easy for you to want to follow these plans that just don't make sense anymore, and you know it, but maybe you feel you have to kind of mentally get there. You know what's right for you. I think you've always known. And I think, your intuition never lies. Your intuition knows. Lord, take charge with authority. I think, again, going to this card, I think you know how to take charge. You know how to be a person of authority. You have that fire in you, and you have that leadership ability. I think there's also just what's come with that is a bit of stubbornness, which needs to just be in check sometimes. But know that you can trust yourself. And Yeah. It's interesting that like these animals with the horns are coming up, and then also I guess these are horns. I wonder what the spiritual meaning of horns are. He also has horns. Maybe there's this like protection energy, like you want to be the protector. Yeah. And yeah, I'm just getting this vibe that you're very passionate. You're the person who takes charge, who goes and does things, takes action. And maybe in the past that has been a bit like impulsive or a bit too, I don't want to say too much, because I think everyone goes through a journey of discovering the right balance for them. And of course, impulsive behavior can lead to destructive behavior. And I think those are maybe it's more like the destructive behaviors that you've once had, you've really taken a look on, and you're doing the work. The shadow just needs a little bit more space in your life. But you take action. You're doing it, and yeah, awesome. Okay, I actually have more cards. Okay, so we have wisdom, bay. So this is bay leaf. Tranquility, the violet. Leadership, which is kind of what we talked about, broccoli. And attraction, pansy. So it's really interesting because I think all of them. Okay, so wisdom, I think there's this link to the inner knowing. There's also I'm trying to think of the sign. So that's your north node, isn't it? At first I thought it was Leo. That is not Leo, is it? Okay, I don't think that's Leo. At first I thought it was. I think that I'm wrong about that one. But I do think this is the element of fire. So you have wisdom in your fiery nature. I think there's a lot of that. And that comes with your inner knowing. You're very wise. You have a lot of wisdom in you. And then tranquility. This is Pisces. This is more that kind of, Pisces is a water sign, so maybe more of that intuitive energy, or emotionally, I think you strive for tranquility. Like, I think emotionally you're able to, or I think there's a desire to have that tranquility within your emotions. And I think you're very much growing in that direction. Again, I feel like there's a lot of like tiredness coming in here. Maybe it's a bit of like finding that balance of keeping your candle lit, keeping your fire aflame, but still be tranquil within it. And I think it's easy to believe that, like, oh, if you're very fiery by nature, your fire is either out or it's roaring. But I think this card is trying to say that you can have a tranquil flame. And I think you've been told, now I'm feeling emotional. There's a bit of sadness here. I think there's a bit of drain because I think you've been told a lot that maybe you're too much, and maybe you're someone who can either be really fiery and a lot at once, or you hold yourself back and you don't give as much. And I think that makes you sad when you hear that you feel you're too much. And it is sad. I mean, like, oh my God, I'm getting like goosebumps. Like, it is sad. It's sad to hear that and for people to say that to you, because your fieriness like this is such a gift. And I think there is a way to have a tranquil fire. And I know those two sound like opposites, but I do think like this seems like a very tranquil fire. And I think you're just tired of hearing you're too much, or it's you need to be quiet, you need to not be seen. And you know, this reading is all about being secure in yourself and just knowing that, yeah, I have fire and I'm very proud of that fire, and it doesn't have to mean I'm too much. It really doesn't. You know how to be yourself, and you know how to be calm within this fire. Oh my God, I'm getting goosebumps again. But yeah, I think it's just, there's a lot of beauty here in that. You are able to find that balance of your fire with tranquility. They can coexist for sure. Now we go into leadership. It's interesting because that's Gemini, which I guess, you know, we're looking at the duality of things, which has come up in your reading. I guess you've had 2 here as well. Yeah, you've had some 2s. I think you are definitely someone with leadership qualities. I think that was something that was coming clear with, you know, you take charge and authority. And yeah, I think you have that innate in you. For some reason, I'm feeling a lot of strength in this broccoli. Maybe it's because, like, broccoli makes you strong. I know that's spinach, but I don't know, for some reason, this broccoli is feeling really strong to me for some reason. Also, this is Libra. This is Gemini, this is Libra. And those are air signs. And there's the moon again. So there's a bit of like that intuition, duality, balance. I get the feeling you're a strong leader. And there's something to do with this, like, Gemini, this too. Like, I feel like you're often, like, the leader. If it's, like, you and a friend, you will be the leader. Not to say that you won't lead a group. You do, too. But I think that you're very much into having a balance between you two, in the sense that, yes, maybe you will lead a bit more, but it's not like you lead and don't listen to this person. You are very much here to have this equilibrium between you two, even though you do lead. And this is something that comes very intuitively to you, I think. Yeah. And attraction. Again, this is Libra. These are just really pretty. I think also you are here to kind of attract into your life the right people. And I think a reason why this has felt so emotionally difficult is also maybe you're just not around the people that can really hold you in the way you need. Or they just say that you're too much. But, you know, sometimes the people who say that, maybe they're not always, you know, your people. And that can be hard to hear, because it could be family, it could be like childhood friends that, you know, you care so much about. And I think there's still love and a place for them in your life. But know that you can also attract in people that are more aligned to you and who will not feel like you're too much, who will not feel, oh my God, she's a handful. They will maybe see more of like, wow, she's passionate and she's a leader. And also, I say she, could be he. Whatever you identify, they, yeah. I think this feels like a friend group. Again, a three. The three. I guess we have a three here. Oh yeah, we have 3 and 4, and we have 4 and 3 there. So yeah, it's a little bit of like this mirror image, isn't it? That as you become more, I guess as you grow and you have this tranquility within you to coexist with your fire, there's also bringing in these new people. And you have, yeah, 3s. This is a 3. Did we have any more? No, I don't think so. More of the 2s, the duality. I do think relationship, like this, like dual relationship is important to you, which also reminds me of like in astrology, you know, the 7th house is about partnership. And I wonder, do you have any placements in your 7th house? If you're in this reading and you do, definitely comment down below. I'd love to hear about it. But yeah, so no, cool. But yeah, I do think that partnership is really important to you. It's important. I feel like it's come up time and time again, these 2s, and I think that there is something really meaningful. Like I think you get a lot of emotional, like I was about to say stability, but also emotionally like fills you up. Having this partnership in whatever capacity, could be a relationship, could be a best friend, or yeah. But also, you know, community is important and you will attract the right people to you. Okay, so these are my last cards, and these are self-care cards. Surrender. And then you also have cute quotes at the back. Stop trying to control life. It gets in the way of divine intervention. Wow. That is exactly what we were talking about here. This need to wanting to control, to make these decisions, but you feel so like, oh, I can't make a decision. But I'm like, you need to have faith. Divine intervention is going to come in. So yeah, stop trying to control and surrender. The next card that I have is change course. So a closed door is an invitation from life. So the next card that I have is change course, which is exactly what I talked about here. Like, you had this plan, you had these plans, multiple, but they just don't light you up anymore because this does. So it's like encouraging you to like really, yeah, change your course. You don't have to stick to what you thought was the best. So a closed door is an invitation from life to move in an even better direction. It's time to change course. And again, I think that it goes back to have faith. That like some things you just can't plan for. Of course, good to have a plan. Also check in that your body is like lit up by it. Yeah. Move. A long walk is good for the soul. Get outside and allow Mother Nature to lift your spirits. So I think this card can talk to like moving your body, but it could also just be, you know, actual moving, like whether that be to a new city or a new country or just like a new home within the same place that you are. There's this encouragement to move. Could also just be like keep moving forward because, you know, you've started this journey. We know that you take action, and it's about to keep going, to keep following that path. And even though you have to sometimes change course and check in with yourself, you surrender and you know that things that have, you know, divine timing has to come in too. So I hope this reading has helped. I think kind of going back to the initial question of how to feel more secure in yourself, I think it's very clear that you are someone with a lot of fire. And I think for a long time you've been shamed for it or felt that it was too much. But really, your fire is your gift, it's your superpower. And you realize that, you know, you come across all these different people, they don't all have that power, that fire, that energy. And you shouldn't be ashamed of it. I mean, everything has a shadow and a light side. And I think you're doing that work. You're keeping yourself to check. But you have to know that, like, that fire is really a strength of yours. And that is really something that is just going to really propel you forward in life. Yeah. So really embrace that. And I think through embracing that is how you're going to feel more secure. So I hope this reading helped. Also, it makes so much sense now that you picked this coral, because I feel like there's a lot of that fire in this coral. If this reading at all resonated and it felt good, if this reading at all resonated, definitely drop me a comment down below. I'd love to hear about it. Give me a like and potentially a subscription. Yeah, just give me a like down below. It really helps to... If this reading resonated with you, I'd love to hear about it. What part maybe resonated. Yeah, give me a like and subscribe, and hopefully you'll see you in another upcoming video. Thank you so much. Bye. Hi, if you've chosen this pile, this is pile 2, and this is the fluorite crystal. Specifically, I think this is a rainbow fluorite, and it's maybe a bit hard to see, but it's actually got, if you hold it up against the light, it's got purple and some green stripes in there. I do apologize if the lighting's a bit darker now than compared to the intro video. I had to record this at a different time of day. But yes, the fluorite crystal is a very grounding. The fluorite crystal really helps with balance the energy around you and your environment. And some believe that it can help cleanse and purify your body and stabilize your energy. So this will be your reading about how to feel more secure in yourself. You might be going through a period of feeling maybe a bit anxious or just not as grounded as you'd hope to be. So hopefully this reading can shed some light onto that. So yeah, let's just get started. Okay, so we have the Ace of Swords, the Strength card, the Five of Swords, and the Three of Pentacles. Okay, so usually I love seeing like a macro view of the cards. So there's a lot of yellow popping through, which is quite interesting. I also think, yeah, this card feels a little different from the others. I'm not sure why at this point, but maybe that'll become more clear during the reading. So I think let's just go straight into this. So you have the Ace of Swords reversed. So usually I like to take a look at the card as is, and then, you know, reverse can often mean that it's blocked. So Ace of Swords, you know, aces are always like the beginning of something, like maybe a beginning of a chapter. And swords is linked to the element of air, which is also associated with intellect and like the thinking mind. So there might be this like new chapter or a new idea that's come through, but you're feeling a little blocked about it. So just to have kind of like a closer look at what, like, because I do intuitive reads and I love seeing what jumps out to me in the picture that I see. So let's see. I think this handle's really jumping out to me for some reason. I also really like how the swan is like, feels quite regal, this swan. I think it's like it's stretching out its wing, it's puffing up its chest, and it's feeling almost like it's ready to, I was about to say ready to go into battle. Now, I don't know if it's exactly ready to go into battle, but maybe ready for a fight. Like it's gearing up for something. It's feeling really agitated by something. It's like puffing up its chest. It's saying, "Hey, you can't push me over." And it is determined. And so maybe for some of you, maybe there's this realization, or you're kind of feeling that there are these like, I was gonna say like things that you're coming up against. And I think there's a part of you that's feeling frustrated and you really want to just puff up your chest and be like, hey, don't do that. But that could be really hard for some of you. That could be like a quite intimidating thing to do. And maybe that's why like you're sensing that you've come to a time where you need to start setting up for yourself in this, and you know this intellectually, but maybe it's just difficult for you to do, and hence why it's upside down and feeling blocked. And maybe like this sword, I almost see it as like you like grab the sword and that's the block. That's what it kind of feels like. But yeah. So it's like once you're able to kind of like take the sword out, that is when that swan is gonna go. Because now maybe the sword is what's kind of stopping it. That's the block. Now, strength. I think, it's quite straightforward to be like, you have the strength in you to stand up for yourself, to be able to be this swan without the block. But I think, it's easy to doubt yourself, of course. It's easy to not be able to connect to that. Let's see what else jumps out in this card. I feel like the antlers are really glowing. I think there's this sense of like, you have so much strength that is like accumulating in this area of your body. That's your superpower, because that's also what makes this animal unique, right? It's the antlers. It's a deer, right? I feel like there's so many different types of animals, I don't know, that have these antlers, and I'm like worried of saying the wrong animal. But I think it is just a deer. I think it's because I'm half Swedish, and in Swedish we have like different names, and I get confused for some reason, and I don't know why I get so confused. But I think, yeah, in English it is just a deer. And I think you have such superpower in what makes you unique. And I feel that a lot of you needed to hear that. Like I feel like emotional just saying that. It's just like it's your superpower, and there's maybe something that's like limiting your belief that this is your superpower. And you just have to know that, yeah, it's what makes you, makes you strong. I do also love this looks like, if anyone's ever played The Sims, each character, if you're like controlling that character, you have the diamond. So it reminds me of that. Not to say that you're being controlled or anything, just that. Maybe to say you are in control. And that you're special, you have a diamond. And I do also really like how lush this reef is. Yeah. You have so many of the resources around you. And that can really also give you strength. Cool. So then the Five of Swords. So again, you know, we have swords like we talked about here. And swords, again, you know, the intellect, thinking mind, Five of Swords. In the traditional tarot, Five of Swords is a bit like there has just been like a battle, and then someone is, or everyone's kind of like leaving the battleground, and it's like no one's really satisfied. Of course, that's the traditional meaning of the tarot. Like, if that doesn't resonate with you, I always love just seeing what the picture really says. I think this is also the first time I've ever really noticed that this manta ray has its tail on one of the swords. And it feels as though, I don't know, it's like for the first time it's noticing these resources that it has. And it's ready to take charge. It's ready to hold on. Like, this is what I was talking about, resources. And it's like noticing, hey, I have these resources around me. And then it's time to like hold on to it. And use it. And maybe also kind of what we were saying earlier, what used to hinder you and be your block, actually, you never saw them as assets. And now it's kind of time to like take it out of what's blocking you, but realizing that this was never meant to block you. This was always a tool that you have handy, and you have many of them. And now I'm not saying to be defensive. I'm not saying to be aggressive or the aggressor. I'm just saying that if you yield the sword wisely, it can be a tool to help you. And as long as you do it to the benefit of yourself and not harming others, that's a positive. And that's going to really like make you soar, light you up. And I also love that, you know, to talk about the colors, like this swan, ready to go. The yellow here, unique strength. This is what makes you unique here. That strength is carrying you and making you flow and using your tools wisely. For sure. Now, here, again, we're talking about, okay, so it's the Three of Pentacles. Pentacles is related to the earthly realm and has to do with like material goods, could be finance, could be things. But again, it's resources. That's what I've been picking up on here. You have access to these resources. And Three of Pentacles usually talks about collaboration. So this is why these ants, they're helping each other. They're there for each other. So it's this idea that you have resources. All of these cards are kind of saying you have the resources around you, and you have people to help you. You might believe, like, I guess from up to here, it's been a very internal situation for you, whereas here it's starting to become a bit more external. Maybe something happened externally, but you feel this internally, this block. And here it's just like you have people around you and you have the resources to really set you up for success, to keep on floating like this. And that's a really beautiful thing, for sure. Okay. So I have some, I have some more cards for you. Okay, we got the Three of Swords. We got the Eight of Cups. We got the King of Wands. And the Ace of Wands. Okay, so this is quite interesting. So let's see. So it's quite fun that we have 3 and 3. So 3 in numerology signifies, like, it's a very social number, basically. It's a number of communication that maybe like it's encouraging you to socialize, to get out of, like, maybe you've been in a bit of a hermit setting, go out, socialize, and just be around people, be with people. Now, I know this doesn't quite depict fun and socializing, but we'll also go into what the card means. So, in the traditional tarot, this does mean heartbreak, as you can see. I mean, it's very in your face about it, but it doesn't necessarily have to be in this reading. This is where my intuitive reading comes in and we see what the card is actually trying to signify. So I do think this is something to do with thinking because of swords and the intellect. And maybe you've had some thoughts that just don't serve you. And there's a bit of this, I don't know, this is really the smoke or mist. There's something, I'm getting the sense of like letting go. I think there's this sense of like, you have these thoughts that have really kept you shut, kind of like the sword here. It's been like keeping you blocked, and it makes you so sad. But then also realizing that, also what I think makes you sad is the realization that these swords are holding you back. And I think for some reason this mist is like reminding me of like, just you have to let it go. It's like, when we have emotions, we definitely have to feel our emotions and let them go. And I think there's a part of you that feels like you haven't let your heart be able to sing. And I think when you do let it, or when you try to let it, you put a sword in it. You try to shut it up. You try to block it. Just like you've blocked yourself here. Even though you haven't intentionally done it, it could be, how you grew up. You felt it was safer to suppress your emotions. I mean, sadly, we're in a society where that's very common. Like, even if we have very loving and amazing parents, maybe in some ways they didn't know how to emotionally hold you, or you felt you weren't seen or held and had very big emotions sometimes. And that can be very normal as you grow up and you realize that you are now the adult in the situation. You have an inner child that is still just as hurt. But now as the adult, you can be there for yourself in a way that you wished someone had been for you. So I think I'm getting this sense of you're recognizing these wounds and you're recognizing that it's time to let it go. And it's totally fine for you to be sad about it. Let these emotions come and flow. For sure. And maybe one day this can also be your superpower again. Oh, sorry. Kind of like what we were saying. Yeah. And here, so this is the 8 of Cups. So I feel this is very apt to what we've been talking about, of like, you feel really ready to level up. You feel so ready. Like, you were in a situation that was not filling your cup. If anything, it drained you. And you just feel so ready. And you see it. And it's like you're at the beginning of the journey. And maybe this is part of it. You know that you're drained. You know it's not helping you. And maybe, to take that first step, there's some kind of blockage there. But you see where you want to go. And you are so ready for it. And also here, I always say that the eye, I always think of like it being related to the third eye, the chakra, the third eye, and that has to do with intuition. So it's like you intuitively know where to go. And maybe just part of that is the healing work of you recognizing these suppressed emotions and these like mindset. It's like a mindset shift. And you gently taking them out and using them as your tool. I know I said this looks like he's grabbing, or the manta ray is grabbing the sword, but maybe likewise it's about pulling it out, pulling that blockage away. And letting yourself feel the emotions as you heal. And know that through doing that, you are leaving a situation that is keeping you drained, because it's not filling you up. So the King of Wands. So Wands is related to fire, and that's related to taking action. And a king is, if you think of the archetype of a king, it's someone who, is regal. He sits on a throne. He's in his power, and it's in like the masculine he's in his true masculine. And I mean in the light side, not the shadow side, because I understand like there's a light and shadow to each archetype. And also I want to say this has nothing to do with gender. Like even if you identify as something other than and as a man, it's more the energy of this. So it's as though that you are ready to take action and you have a game plan. Like in your, and that's also, you know, having a strategy, taking action, very masculine traits. And it's as though you are ready to make this shift. Like you are ready to take action. You are ready to shift what is holding you back here. And it's not only that you're ready, you have the strategy, you know how to lead the way, and you are very passionate about it. Like you are so ready, and it's to the point where it's like you're feeling lit up. You're gonna light this up too as you keep on going. And yeah, again, Ace of Wands. I think these are quite related. I think here it's about having that plan and really knowing the steps. Like maybe you've really thought this through, being like, I know what steps I need to take. I know, oh here, literally steps. I know what steps I need to take. And I have that passion to start doing this journey. And this is just signifying that, yeah, you might be blocked here and not, like you have the idea, you feel a bit blocked, but Ace of Wands is saying that you will take action. You will be doing this and you will feel so magical. I guess like this person's literally holding a wand, but you feel so magical. I love that. So, you know, going back to the question at hand, how do you feel less blocked? And I think we've kind of like discussed it through this journey of like, you're in a situation where you're feeling really frustrated, you feel ready, but there's something blocking you. You are recognizing that what makes you unique is your strength, and you have all the resources to keep on fueling the strength of yours. And the blocks are turning into tools. And they will help you. It will help fuel you, the strength of yours, and have you float and go. And lean on your community, lean on your friends or family. They are here to help you. And you have the resources, you always have. And maybe this is like joining an online community that can help you heal, or it could be like speaking to a friend or starting therapy. You know, it's that idea of like you have people externally around you that you can turn to and who will help, and you have those resources. Here it's about recognizing the wounds that shut you down and really finally releasing those emotions, those pent-up emotions, and letting that go. And here again, it's like I also kind of like that the mist is in both of these, and it's like saying that like this is where you've been, like it's the same like location, and you are so ready to go up the stairs and not be in this mist anymore, to finally have that more clarity. Yeah, this is draining you. And you have a plan, you feel ready for it, you feel in your power, and you're going to do it. You're going to take this out. You're going to start this new chapter, for sure. Okay, I have more cards for you. Okay, so let's see. Okay, we have Air Guardian, so shift your perception. So quite linked to what we've been saying. There is like here, there is you are in the midst of changing your mindset. And all of this work, and this as well, it was like realizing that these swords aren't here to stop you or block you. They are here to help you. So they are here to, you are shifting your perception. And this card is very much like encouraging you even more than what we've already seen. Again, air, swords are intellect. It's time for you to shift your perception. And it's very much encouraging you to do that. Hunter, track down your fears and desires. Oh, wow, that's very interesting. Track down your fears and desires. Maybe it's also speaking about this. Also, I love the antlers. That's come up again. Oh, wow, he has like antlers and like horns. He's like two animals in one. And here again, it's come up. I love seeing these like synchronicities. But yeah, track down your fears and desires. And I think it could be linked to this. You have all these fears that are you're ready to face. Maybe not all your fears, but like in the sense of emotions that you've been suppressing or things that are coming to the surface, and also your desires. You're like, where am I? What is this here? Yeah. So this is also encouraging you down this like healing, you know, the sense of taking a good look, an introspective look at yourself. Okay, Mirror Guardian. Take time to reflect. Oh, wow. So yeah, again, is kind of what we were saying. Go inward, reflect. Really see where, like, even if it's just journaling and you have a journaling, like, prompt of what is my strength? Also, you can look at your weaknesses. I mean, like, I know we shouldn't be self-critical, but I think it's good to be introspective and understand, okay, maybe this is an area of improvement. So let's see, what is my strength? What is blocking me? And what, on the flip side, is blocking me but can be something that can help me? And maybe you're not able to see it now in the moment, and that's totally fine. Maybe with time, you know, you'll realize, oh, I connect the dots. That I thought was holding me back. Really, I can use that whenever I want. And yeah, take time to reflect on your fears and desires. It's not easy. This is definitely inner work that, you know, it takes time. It takes time to really go through and really understand yourself, but yeah. Moon. Take note of intuitive messages. That's really beautiful. It's like, listen to your body, which I think this is a little bit of what this is saying. Like, you know, I realize actually we have a lot of sword or air cards, which is maybe means like you have mental blocks, and you know, that has really made you sad, that this mental block. So this is also saying, like, listen to your body, listen to these intuitive messages. And the moon I always link to feminine energy, which is about listening to your intuition and listening to the body. I also really like that she sees space in here. I think there was something about that. As I moved away from that card, I realized, like, it is quite fascinating that she's looking into this mirror, or would be a mirror, and she sees the universe. And I mean, many people say that we are the universe. Like, the universe lives inside of us, inside of our intuition. Yeah, so that's like very linked. Mountain. Okay, stand your ground. I wonder how to frame this. Oh, I kind of feel like they're linked. This rainbow fluorite with this mirror. Okay, so stand your ground. It's quite interesting because I kind of feel like these animals with the antlers, they feel like very grounded animals. I guess just because this idea that, like, maybe I'm thinking of Taurus, and Taurus is an earth sign, but there's a very grounding element, like energy around them. And I think there's this idea of you need to stand strong in what makes you unique, what makes you different, and you need to stand strong in that. And I think there's been a lot of you that has felt very shamed of this difference. And I think this card is just saying that, like, you need to stand your ground. And maybe for some of you, this hasn't always been so easy to do. But this is where, you know, it's, I think what I also like about this reading, it's saying that, like, you should reflect. It's not being right and be stubborn about being right. I think it's really saying just understand yourself. What are the attributes, like what are your negotiables and your non-negotiables? You know, this idea of like what are your core values and what are the things that you are not willing to flex on, and what are some values you are willing to flex on. You know, really feel into that intuition. And this also kind of reminds me of this thing I saw on Instagram, I think like a few years ago. So it was Elon Musk's ex-wife. I don't unfortunately remember her name, but it was the first ex-wife. And for some reason, she was doing a talk. And she said her husband, her then husband, says no a lot or says no to a lot of things. But she soon realized that when he was saying no to something, he was actually saying yes to something else. He was saying yes to himself. And that really made me consider and realize that whenever I said yes to something where I wasn't 100% sure I wanted to do or felt obliged to do, I would sometimes ask myself, okay, well, if I'm saying yes to this, what am I saying no to? And really, what are my priorities? Is this something that I want to say no to? And I get that Elon Musk is a diverse character, but I think it just comes with this idea of what are you willing to say yes to and continually say yes to, and what are you wanting to say no to? And stand your ground in that, because if that's your truth, own it. It's totally fine to own it. Okay, more cards. Okay, so we have divination. Oh, interesting. Chives. Chives are yum. Okay, maybe I'll put this up here. Emotion. Oh, like what we're talking about here. Having those emotions let out. It's a cucumber. And memory. Rosemary. Okay, interesting. So let's have a look. Interesting to see the 4 here and a 4 there, even though that's technically, if you add that up, that's a 5. Okay, so divination. I feel like that, to me, this is really saying, like, reflect. Like kind of what we were saying here. Look into the universe. Look into yourself. In divination, I know it's about, like, telling the future, all these things, but I think, this is a little bit of a reminder of, like, we so often look for answers outside of ourselves. And I feel like this is the reminder of you have answers. You have the answers within you. You just gotta look within. And so this is linked to Scorpio, which is a very mysterious water sign. So it's maybe like the subconscious, looking in. Yeah. Maybe also like the whole idea of tracking down your fears and desires. That's quite cool. Here, emotion, which again I love, because that's kind of what we were saying here. And maybe even also these cups. You feel so emotionally drained. And again, the moon is here. So it's like intuitively listen to your emotions. See what's there. And this is also Pisces, which again is a water sign. Water, again, emotions. Very also like intuitive sign. Pisces. No, that's not Pisces. Sorry, it's Cancer. Sorry. I for some reason think that those are fish. It's not. That's Cancer. Again, a water sign. That is quite emotional. But they're maybe not as like, I don't want to say they're not intuitive. I think they are. I think just Pisces are more known for that intuitive ability, whereas Cancer has more of that like protective nature, but really they're like big softies inside. But yeah, I think that, the meaning is the same of like emotion. Step into that. And then memory. I feel like it is very linked to what we were saying here, that like these blocks have been in your life for a long time. It's like the memory of these blocks. I think these are things that happen when you were quite young, which, to be honest, that's often the case. These things can stem in childhood, and then as adults, those who feel called to take a look inside, they start doing that. But I think it's like you have the memory of these blocks. And maybe you even have to ask yourself, when was the first time I felt these blocks? And maybe that's part of your reflection, is to go through your memories. But although I think that's apt, I do think you remember a lot of it. I think you have some painful memories, and I think it's only as you go through them can you really reach your purpose, because this is the sign for North Node, which in astrology signifies like your purpose, what you're here to like work towards. And I think it's only by going backwards is where you can really go forward. And again, the sun, in tarot, the sun means, being your authentic self and really embracing that so you can shine. And I think there's a bit of that you have to go through your memories in order to, I think, not shy away from them. I think integrate them and really understand them, because that is maybe what's going to give you this wisdom. I just assume this book is about wisdom. I actually don't really know what that symbol is, but yeah, it's going through your memories. You're gonna go through reach your purpose and be able to shine bright. And you will be very wise while doing that. But I think they're all along the same lines of, you go inward, you really hold your emotions. And yeah, a lot of this started in childhood, so it's about you going back, looking at those memories. And maybe once upon a time, those were really heavy and sad memories, and I am sorry for those. I mean, sorry for your sake that, you have that. And I understand how tough that is. But know that it's when you go through those, even if they're really difficult, and integrate them into your life now, that's where the wisdom's going to come. That's where your purpose is really going to shine. Yeah. And you've got this. You also remember, you have that strength. That was never in doubt. That was always there. Cool. So I have the last cards, and these are self-care cards. So let's see. Oh, friend. Again, what we said, lean on your friends here. You have people that you can really speak to. I was kind of like she has a little bird on her shoulder. I guess that's her friend. Or it's a quirky friend who has a bird. Which also, I guess, the swan's a bird. Be as good a friend to yourself as you are to others. That's really sweet. I think, again, it goes into this whole idea of holding yourself and healing. And maybe also just reflect on, like, what kind of friend do you want to be, or what kind of friend do you wish you had, and be that to yourself. Show that compassion to yourself. But you do have, like, people around you and people who want to be with you. Don't think that you don't. Okay, breathe. Oh, I love this moon. Again, the moon keeps coming up. Breathe. It's also a way of really grounding yourself. Breath work. The calmer you are, the more time slows down, and the easier it is to get everything done. Well, that's really nice. I guess sometimes it can feel overwhelming when you have a lot to do and it feels like we don't have time, but I guess it is just really saying, just breathe. You've got this. I also feel like this is so related to being like on top of a mountain. Maybe that's just the stereotype, right? You go on this like mountain pilgrimage, this mountain pilgrimage to go meditate and breathe that fresh mountain air. Yeah. And again, it's got the sun and the moon and the sun, which we've got come up. Calm. Oh wow, that's really linked. Breathe and calm. That's like, the same coin but different sides. A breakdown is often followed by a breakthrough. Remain calm. Oh, that's nice. And I think that's also really linked to what we said here, that there's this block and there's this, you are going through this hardship, but this is where the breakthrough comes. This is the breakdown, and this is the breakthrough. So maybe if you're here in your journey, just know that this breakthrough is coming, and you just have to remain calm, breathe, get in touch with friends if you need that support. There's no shame in that, and just do the work, which I know from your cards. Sorry, I keep shifting everything. You are so ready. You have the King of Wands. You have a plan, and you're so ready to do it. And you will get this breakthrough. It's a journey for sure to feel more secure in yourself. But, you know, as you go through these steps, you're going to start healing. And healing doesn't mean that you will never feel these feelings again. Healing, it gives you tools, like the tools to know how to handle these big emotions. But it also gives you the kind of like the space to be able to see the bigger picture. And maybe also just that like self-awareness of being like, okay, I've started to act like this. Usually when I start acting like this, it means that I'm unbalanced, or I'm starting to blame others. I usually do that when I feel really vulnerable and defensive. Why am I doing that? So it's like when you go through this healing journey and you really understand yourself and have a better idea of yourself, you're able to just have that space to see yourself from above, kind of, or see yourself in a macro level, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Yeah, so I hope that makes sense. I want you to know that you've definitely got this. You definitely have that strength. And yeah, you just gotta have faith that it will be for your ultimate best. And I always say, like, the universe has your back. The universe wants what's best for you. So you just have to breathe and tune into your body and stay calm. And have a good chat with a friend. Or reach out to a friend if you feel the need. Or be your, like, the best friend to yourself. So I think that's everything for today. Thank you so much for joining me. Definitely leave a comment down below if this resonated. Even if it didn't resonate, I would love to hear, like, what was your take on this? Like, what was it that drew you to this pile? And yeah, what did you take from it? Definitely, if you enjoyed this reading, definitely give me a like and subscribe if you feel called to. Thank you so much. Hopefully see you in a different reading. Bye. Hi everyone, this is pile 3 for how do you feel more secure within yourself. So if you've picked this group, you have the Howlite and you have the blue Calcite. So for some reason I felt like these both needed to be on top of this pile. Maybe it's the energies that they bring. So the Howlite, let's see. So the Howlite has very like calming energy. It improves sleep and enhances communication. Also promotes patience. And the blue Calcite is good for emotional healing, and it increases intuition and boosts communication. Also relieves anxiety. So yeah, this will be your reading today. So let's jump into it. Okay, ooh, 10 of Pentacles, Queen of Swords, King of Wands, and the High Priestess. That was so interesting. It feels like very like these three feel like very regal animals, or like positions. Like they do appear outwardly quite confident. So this reading is all about how to feel more secure in yourself. So I kind of like seeing if there's any overall themes that come up. As of now, yes, this regalness. Maybe a little bit of the colors. You get this blue purplish, kind of. I guess there's a bit of blue purple here. This is a blue purple bit here. Okay, but let's dive into the first card. So you got the Ten of Pentacles. So Ten of Pentacles, a very favorable card. It's usually about like having abundance, but within a community setting. Like you, in the traditional tarot, it's an old man and he's looking out at like his family and a community, and it's just like very abundant. And yeah, what's the card trying to say? I feel like for some of you, you have like a lot of abundance in your bank account. I don't know why. For some reason, I feel like this looks like a bank account. Like you do have a lot of abundance in your life. And for some reason, this is also really like speaking to me. And I don't really know why. Although a lot of you do have like abundance in your bank account, I feel like there's some kind of sadness here. And I think there's a bit of like, it feels a bit like you see these things leaving your account. And I think there just feels like a lack of control. I'm just getting a very like, that there's some sadness here. And I think you just wish you had more control over your situation. And though I feel for many it is financial, abundance obviously could be in many different things. Could be like material goods, or maybe you see this as like, oh, friendships, or I think there's just something in your life where you do have an abundance of, but you feel there's things slipping away and it's making you sad. I'm trying to kind of understand what this is, because this is really calling out to me. I think at this point in the reading, I think it's like, it might become more clear as we dive in, because I do think there is a bit of like connection to this based on the colors. So let's come back to this, because right now, yeah. Okay, so Queen of Swords. Swords is connected to the element of air, which is connected to thinking, and the queen is someone, you know, sitting in her authority. Obviously, I say her, even if it's queen or a king, it doesn't matter what gender, it's more the energy of that card. So a queen is often, you know, someone who's in her feminine, or in their feminine. And that can be someone very attuned to their body, attuned to maybe the cycles of life, that kind of like feminine energy coming in. And yeah, I can see this roundness. I think like feminine energy is also depicted as like round, whereas like masculine energy is more of this like edges, sticks, because I guess it's more phallic. So yeah, so this is kind of like the opposite. You do have the king energy here, so you have the queen and the king. But yeah, what's this trying to say? I think you're in a time of your life where things are actually going pretty well for you. Like you have a lot of growth. And again, for some reason I see this space and I think abundance, but I can't help but think that you're preoccupied by what's going on here, this loss, this sadness, because I do like that the bird is looking at the whale, but I also just feel like you're not really, even though feminine energy is more grounding energy, but there's something about you that's not quite grounded in your achievements or in your growth. And I think you feel distracted in your mind. There's something that just is distracting you, and maybe it's also one of those situations where you don't currently feel that you have control over your situation. Maybe also a little bit like the grass is greener on the other side. Because there's abundance all around you. But I just don't think you recognize it or feel it. It's more that you're not feeling it, but you are a very, you have a lot of abundance in your life. And sometimes that can also be about having a mindset shift, that it's easy to only see the negatives. And I think, in my own personal journey, what really helped me was a gratitude practice. Starting by saying what I was grateful for. I started off by writing it out every day, like 5 to 10 things that I was grateful for. Now I just say them when I wake up in the morning. I'll say a few things that I'm grateful for, and it can be very basic things, like I'm happy to have a roof over my head. I'm happy for a warm meal, and they might seem really basic and things that many can take for granted, but I think it just helps you realize how good life is because you do have this abundance around you. It just can be hard to, yeah, to really acknowledge it when I think it's also easy, like when things are feeling hard or you feel out of control in whatever capacity that takes over your life or your mind, at least what you're thinking. And I think that's very normal, but I think it's, yeah, I think it's a situation where maybe there's a need of a mindset shift because, yeah. It's interesting because I'm talking about being a little bit preoccupied and stuck in your thoughts, but the feminine energy is to be more in your body. And I think to an extent you are in your body. I think to an extent it's like maybe you do listen to yourself and things, and that's not really what this is about. It's just about your going through external things externally are happening in your life, and you just feel they're out of your control. And maybe it's about, I guess, we're going to come to this, but having faith. The High Priestess is a very spiritual card, and maybe it's a little bit about like having faith of what's to come. So King of Wands. So we kind of discussed, we have the Queen of Swords, King of Wands. So it's got that like duality. So Wands is related to action, like taking action. It's related to the element of fire, and it's about taking action. And the King, again, someone who's sitting in their authority, someone who's like a ruler, but has more of the masculine traits. So that could be more like being strategic or having a plan, going through things methodically, and this is also about taking action. So maybe you've also come to a point where, I guess here there's a lot of just like, these are looking at each other, right? And then this is looking more towards this. So it could be an instance where you're thinking it's time to change and it's time to take action on that change. And maybe you have a plan, hence why this more like masculine energy is coming in. And I think you're someone who does have a lot of like power or authority in your life. It doesn't mean that you have to be like a boss or a CEO. Maybe it just means that like you feel like maybe it's also just a reminder of your power. Because like I said, they look like very regal cards, and I think it's a reminder of the power that you have inside of you. And you do have a lot of power. You have a lot of willpower as well. And I think you've made a decision that, okay, well, you recognize that, yeah, you're sad that this is happening. And, to be fair, it's totally fine for you to be sad. It's good to be sad. You release those emotions. But then you also hit a point where you're like, okay, what's next? What's the game plan? And I think that's where you're looking towards this card. And the High Priestess is, like I said, it's a very spiritual card. And I think it's very much this idea of having faith of what's to come. Again, the moon or maybe not again, I don't think I've mentioned it, but the moon symbolizes intuition, which I guess is like that intuitive, that feminine energy, has it here as well. I just realized also like there's these circles throughout. So it's like throughout these readings, it's a bit of an echo of, it could be, I mean, the moon. I'm trying to think if it could be the sun. I know the colors don't look like the sun, but I mean, that looks a bit like it could be a sun. But I think it is more the moon, this moon energy of looking at your intuition. But I also feel like from this, I think it's because of the coloring, it's reminded me of yin energy, as in yin and yang. So yin energy, again, is the feminine energy, but it's also darkness, right? Maybe you have some shadows that like are making you feel out of control. There's a side of you that there's just this shadow, a shadow. Well, we all have shadows, right? We have the shadow self, and often it's a place that people don't want to go, and it's very normal because it can be, you know, traumatic. It could be shame that we learn as children. And I think you are ready to go down into the underworld and to really see what's down there. And you are entering a phase where you have faith and you trust your intuition to guide you down there safely. I mean, if you ever start panicking, don't maybe do it then and there. If you need extra support, call on extra support, even if it's professional help, like a therapist. But I think it's that idea that you have faith and trust that you can go deep, and you have faith in the universe. Because like I said, this spiritual card, you believe in a higher power. Also, for some of you, I'm feeling like this wolf energy is like, I think a little bit of like a spirit animal or like a spirit guide helping you in those moments. And maybe when you're finding it hard in this shame, or you're triggered or something, and although you have a game plan to heal that, you can call on help in a spiritual context. You can say to your, maybe imagine this wolf and say, wolf, I need your support. Spirit wolf, I need your support in this moment. Please help me. Please guide me. You can say it to your spirit team if that calls to you more, like your spirit team that's positive and they're loving you. Of course, if you believe in this, I know not everyone does, but I do believe that we have a spirit team that is like helping us and guiding us. Could be, yeah, angels and maybe even past family members supporting us, or ancestors or friends, yeah. But yeah, I think there is a little bit, you're ready to take action on this and to go into the underworld. You're staring it in the face because you're tired of this. And yes, you have a mindset shift, but I think part of that for you is going in and healing. And I also see like these colors here match here. So I'm trying to see if now I can see if this has any meaning to me now. I don't think it does, but I do like it when I can see like synchronicities in the colors, but I'm not really sure. Maybe it's a little bit of having faith that you've maybe turned away from your faith for a while, and losing these things have probably been for the betterment, have been maybe something that was kind of meant to be and was on your trajectory in life. But when you don't recognize that it's for the better of you, better for you, you can obviously feel like down on your luck or think, why is this happening to me? Because it's one of those things where the universe has your back, and it always will. And I think it's easy to think, why is the universe doing this to me? Instead of thinking, the universe has my back. What is the benefit of this happening? So I think you were maybe in a moment where you weren't really that connected connected to the universe or having faith. Maybe you just didn't, you kind of turned your back on faith. Maybe you chose not to see the bigger picture in that moment. Or no, maybe not bigger picture. I think it's more have trust in why those things had to happen from a faith perspective. And so when you saw these things, like you losing them, of course they hurt. I mean, it can always hurt. But I think you struggled to see why they had to happen. Why did that have to exit your life? But there was always a reason for it. I think this is like a reminder of like the universe, of like it had to happen. And it was actually for your best. And if you choose to see it that way, you know, shift your mindset and see that that loss was hard, but it was necessary, because maybe that also propelled you into this growth, into you actually taking action and looking at these shadow parts of you and just leaning into the faith. Maybe you had to go through this. I know it's not an easy journey, but you know, part of life is to be on, yeah, is to learn these lessons, to go through the ups and downs. I mean, it's like the card, the Wheel of Fortune. You're always gonna have good times and bad times, but it's also learning about how to have resilience, you know, to cope with this, with these ups and downs of life, and having a mindset that can really help you go through it. And also know that, of course, you need to feel your feelings. If you're sad, you got to feel that. You can't deny that. You can't deny yourself that. So I have some more cards. So let's take a look. Okay, we have the Six of Cups, the Ace of Cups, Page of Wands, and the Ten of Swords. Wow. Again, I like that there's this like same kind of patterns. Interesting with the coloring as well. I feel like the purple kind of matches this. Like these are kind of similar energies. Whereas this is like new energy coming in. Let's see. Just different vibes. Okay, so let's start with the Six of Cups. So the Six of Cups is traditionally quite a nostalgic card. And Cups is related to water, which is related to the emotions, your emotions. I think for some of you, you're going to be healing your inner child. I think that's going to be very big in this shadow work. For those of you who are new to inner child work, it's a great way of healing, like a technique or a tool that you can use during your healing journey. I personally use it a lot. It's really helped me. A few years ago, I was going through heartbreak, and this was, during that pain, this was something that could really help. So basically the technique is, or the tool, whenever you feel pain, or even now when I feel maybe anxious or a bit like out of, you know, when you're not feeling great, there's something you're not feeling great, or you feel triggered, or you feel anxious or pain, I'll ask myself, you know, and this is all happening internally, I'll ask myself, is there an inner child here that needs my support? And even though I say inner child, it can be at any age. It could have been me like 2 years ago. And I was not a child 2 years ago. I was very much an adult. And whoever pops up in my mind's eye, it'll often be a child, but it could be any age, like I said. And that is someone that at that age felt abandoned, or at that age, this feeling came up and they didn't know how to handle it, or they need support. So now you as the adult can go up to this inner child and you Give your inner child a hug, and you talk to it. You say, I'm here, and you say things like, we'll do this together, or you're not alone. um, I'm getting just emotional thinking about it. I think, I don't know, it's really profound work, and I think, you know, depending also on your childhood, but I think for many of us, we maybe had, well, I think, not to be mean to anyone's parents, but sometimes even if you had amazing parents, maybe they just couldn't be there for you emotionally in the way you needed at that time. And now when you are the adult and you understand what you needed, you can say, all the right things that you need to hear. And you can have a dialogue, you can ask it questions. Like I usually will hug and cuddle and maybe even hug myself, like physically. I'll physically hug myself. I have also heard of a technique where to calm your nervous system down. It's called havening, and you like very slowly. And it could be anywhere on your body, but like just this idea of like very slowly just patting yourself, and I will combine that and calm down, really sit there, and I'll do it for as long as that feeling is still there until it subsides. And this inner child work, I personally think it really works. It's really profound, and it's eye-opening to understand that your reaction, there's nothing wrong with your reaction in those moments when you're triggered. And it can be very enlightening to understand, like, wow, I was so young when that first happened, or when I first felt that way. And you think, like, as a child, of course I didn't know better. Of course, like, this has now carried with me. So it's about really having that empathy. And you can really see there's that, like, understanding and happiness. And I think doing this work will really fill you up emotionally. It is really powerful work. I think me just describing it, I feel the emotion. I feel how profound this work can really be. And I do highly recommend for anyone who feels they can resonate in it. And then Ace of Cups. Ace always talks about a new beginning. So you could be, moving away from, this is maybe where you are now, and you might be going into a new chapter of your life where you feel emotionally really held. And maybe it's through doing this inner child work and also shadow work, because you're doing a bit of both, the shadow work, going in and listening to your intuition and guiding you in what work to do. You're starting a new chapter, and it's really filling you up. Yeah. Okay. So now Page of Wands. Again, it's quite interesting because now we have Wands again. And we had Swords again here. And these are Cups. I think what's interesting, Page of Wands. So again, Wands is about taking action. Page is usually the idea, like someone who, you're just starting out and taking action on something, but you're new to it. That's what a page usually can signify, that like you're new, you're kind of having like that beginner's mindset, that you're learning. I'm just trying to think of like what it could be, because we've talked about this journey, and I mean, you are maybe new to it, but I'm not sure if that's what it's talking about. If you look at the plants, it's quite nice to see all this growth around you. It could be that like you're seeing, I wonder if it's like talking about a mindset shift. Because it's like you're starting to see the growth around you. I think it's like when you start entering into this new phase, you're going to suddenly see all these new opportunities that here was so hard for you to see because you only saw the loss. And I think it's like you're going to enter this feeling of like, wow, like taking action has really shifted my life. And I think that's going to open up more opportunities of growth. And I think you're going to be willing to try these new things out. And yeah, it's going to really open your eyes. Oh, again, I love that the eyes are like purple and blue. I don't know if you can see that, but it's the same as here. Yeah. I think maybe now you have a new like lens. Maybe you have like more of the spiritual lens. And now all of a sudden, where you used to see loss, you see opportunity, you see growth, and that's really exciting for you, and it's going to make you want to do more of it. So I think once you start this work, I think you're just going to feel so fulfilled, and that in and of itself is going to encourage you. It's going to make you feel more passionate about going through these journeys or this route. Yeah, but that's really exciting. You have a lot coming. Okay, so then the 10 of Swords. So it's quite interesting because these feel like a different vibe from this. And this, because it feels like there's so much good happening, but I think there's also part of you, it's like, two things can be true like two opposing things can be true at once. You could be feeling so fulfilled. You could be seeing all these new opportunities. But there's also maybe the journey and into the shadow that is still going on, and that's really difficult. And I can't help but feel like this is the journey into the underworld. That feels draining. That is so sad. There's so much shame. There's so much like hardship. But you are being led by your intuition. I think this is such a powerful imagery because it's like saying you've been stabbed 1,000 times, yet you keep going. You feel that pain, but you still keep going. And what's guiding you is your intuition. What's guiding you is that faith that going through this is going to heal you. Yeah. So I think it's very much like you are determined to go through this and know that it is the right decision for you because it's going to lead to such like an abundance here. It is going to be hard, but this work is hard. But I also think you have this lion's strength to do it. You have the determination, you have the strength, and this work isn't easy, but I commend you that it's right for you. It's good for you to be going through this. And what's great is also I think you have such a strong intuition. You have such a connection to your intuition. And maybe if you don't feel like you have it now, you are going to develop it. Because that is going to lead you through this darkness. Yeah, this is you journeying into the underworld. It's really beautiful. And I always say, feel your feels. Feel the sadness. It's one of the ways of healing, really. When we have an emotion pop up, and instead of trying to suppress it or move it aside, you just feel it. And I do it in my own work. I realize I ask myself, what's this about? Why am I feeling sad? Or why? Just why? But my body can't always say why. And I think I often have to just let go and know that it doesn't matter. I just have to feel the feeling. And often when I feel these emotions come through me, I do feel lighter after because I've made space for them. I've felt them. I've acknowledged them. I've not pushed them away. And one by one, they fall away. The pain lessens. You integrate it into your life. And yeah. Although it's painful, it's a very beautiful moment. Or journey. It's a beautiful journey. Okay, so I have more cards. Let's go into the oracle cards. Okay. Okay. Oh, another bird. Autumn. Release the old and rest. Oh, that's similar to what we're saying here. There's this idea of releasing old emotions. And make sure to rest, because this work is a journey. You can have a wound pop up again and again, and you might think, haven't I already worked on this? Why is it still affecting me? But it is a journey. It can take time before you fully integrate and it doesn't trigger you anymore. Depends how deep the wound is, and do take time to rest in between. I think that's a really good message. Spirit Fox. Trust your talents in changing times. That was a very, very cute fox. Also very interesting, it has these like symbol on its face. I've never noticed that before. I also quite like the feathers. That's quite interesting. But again, it's like you have the wolf, this fox, this spirit animal. I know they're different, but like this like wolf fox, and then you have a lot of birds coming up. But trust your talents in changing times. I think it's very much saying, like, it's a bit like what I said. I think you have very strong intuition. And I do think, like I sensed here, like you are, you're not shut off from your body. Like I do think that you have a strong connection with your body. And I think it's like, although this might feel tumultuous in some ways, or like a lot of change is happening, trust in yourself. Change can always be hard, but this is going to be change for the better. But trust in yourself. Trust in your intuition. Trust in your talents. You do have this. Okay. Broken Arrow. Embrace the energy of peace. Oh, that's so interesting. I do think this work is going to give you more peace in your life, because you're taking wounds and you're integrating them into your life and letting go. And that will, you know, triggers won't be as big as they used to be, or your reaction to them won't be as big. And I think the more you go into this journey, the more peaceful you'll become, even though in the beginning it's very hard. And also I think here, being in this energy of peace, it's like once you start shifting your mindset, you are going to get, like, this person feels peaceful. There's excitement, but I think they're at peace in the sense of, like, this environment looks very peaceful, right? Like, they're in nature, they see all these opportunities, and it's not like it's passing them by and it's chaotic energy. It's like they're in a good environment. It's peaceful. So yeah, embrace peace. Elder. Move beyond ancestral patterns. Oh, interesting. So maybe this can also kind of talk a little bit of, I guess also in your healing work. You might not, like this, whatever loss you're having here could be the spark, or like the start of this healing journey. But once you're on it, you could also maybe realize that, like, you have patterns in your life that have been passed down from your ancestors. And while you do this work, you're moving beyond those patterns that were holding you back. So for instance, it could be like, one example that's coming to me is like, let's say you have a parent, in my mind it's a mother, but like it could be any parent or person in your life that maybe made comments about body image. It could be directly to you, it could have been they just talked about themselves, or they maybe made general comments about people and you heard these comments, and they could be negative comments about body image. And it could be that thing that they had, that this figure in your life maybe had a similar figure in their life growing up that talked negatively about body image. So then this figure, in my mind it's a mother, Maybe because it can often be a mother, or a lot of women can have body image issues, and you know, it could be passed down from mother to daughter. It could be any kind of version of this, but I think that's just like an example that's coming to me. And then it was passed down to you. And maybe earlier on in your life, you would be very critical of your body because of this, because, you know, this is subconsciously seeped in. And maybe while you do this work, you think and you realize, why am I so negative? Why don't I love my body enough? Where is this coming from? And then you recognize, well, that was what was modeled to me. That was what was passed down to me. And then you realize, well, maybe that was passed down to them. And then, you know, the chain keeps going. And then you'd make a decision. You're like, no, I am not going to pass that down to my kids. It ends with me, and I am going to heal this wound. So this is where you move beyond ancestral patterns. You move beyond ancestral wounds during this healing work. And also patterns. I mean, it could be anything. It doesn't have to be a wound. Maybe it could be like a tradition that your family always did, but for you it doesn't resonate anymore. Maybe you want to kind of move away from patterns your family did, traditions, celebrations, and you just think, that's not me. I'm not doing it because it doesn't light me up anymore. And those can be very difficult conversations to have with family, but if you're finding it hard to be in those situations, they don't light you up, do consider moving beyond them. Okay, cool. I do have more cards, so let's get them up. I know the lighting has also changed. Let me just quickly check my camera. Okay, I have changed the brightness on my camera. I made the ISO higher, for those of you who understand camera talk. But yes, so let's get your other cards out. Oh, longevity, victory, clarity. Oh wow, I can't help but feel like that is so linked. Also, I love how they've like perfectly fallen on this side. Okay, so longevity, chrysanthemum. I think doing this healing work is giving you longevity, is giving years back to your life. I think you just felt so heavy and down in the dumps of all this. It was just such a burden to carry. And now that you're freeing yourself of this, you know, these patterns, and you have more peace in your life, you're letting go, you're going to have you're going to feel this renewal, which I guess is what this is saying. And you're going to just feel this new sense of energy in your life that's just going to give you so many years, all this longevity. You're going to feel like you're getting time back just because you're lighter, you're happier. And you will be victorious. I think this is so important to remember, especially as you're going through the darkness. But you have to have faith that you will be victorious. And again, you have this crown, you have this regal energy coming through again. And Aries, so this is the sign for Aries, which I feel like is reminding me of this card, this idea of going, and, you know, Aries energy, it's bold, it takes action, it's fearless, it's the first zodiac. So I always think of it as like it charges, it's the first one to charge forward. And I think, yeah, this is just so linked to this, and I just think you're going to be so victorious. I know this doesn't look victorious, but this is the work. But when you get to the other side, there's light of tunnel. And I know that healing is a lifelong journey, but I think there's a thick of it for you where It's going to be a lot of hard work. You're going to look at yourself, but you will reach a stage where you will maybe feel more you again. This peace is going to come in. You're just going to feel very victorious. And clarity, carrot. And this is nasturtium. Okay, I do not think I pronounced that wrong. Right. Nasturtium. Okay. If people know how to pronounce that, let me know in the comments. But yeah, clarity. I just love the synchronicity. Doing this work is going to give you so much clarity about your life, about your path, about your patterns. You're just going to have a deeper understanding of yourself and just know yourself so much better. And again, what I like is that one energy in numerology, again, is the leader, which is kind of what we're seeing here and with the Aries here. Yeah, it's boldly going where you haven't been. And maybe also the first in your family. And when you start healing, I think you're going to also have such an appreciation of what happened here. Although it's very sad in the moment, you're going to have the big picture view and understand why this had to happen. It's going to give you so much clarity on that. Okay, so I have my final cards. These are self-care cards. Okay, so energy. Stop trying to please everyone. Everyone is a whole lot of people. Protect your energy. Oh, wow. I love that because I think it's very much saying that, like, in maybe this healing journey of yours, maybe you're also just going to realize you could be a people pleaser. I'm a recovering people pleaser. And I think through my work, I can see my boundaries better. I can understand my boundaries better. And that is through protecting your energy. So I think the more work you do on this, you can see what was draining you, and you can see where it's time for you to put up boundaries and say, this is my energy and I need to respect this. And this is also where peace will come, for sure. So yeah, protect your energy. Pamper. Oh, this is a very nice one, having a bubble bath. Self-care is a necessity, not a luxury. And that's also really, really true. And is also about protecting your energy. Like maybe you feel like, oh, you don't have time for self-care because there's so many things that you need to do in your life. And, you know, it's valid. We're all very busy. But when you start prioritizing yourself, like your healing, and this is emotional healing, but I think that's going to start to translate outward. Taking care of yourself, really having that self-care, pampering yourself. You need it. And you deserve it. And if you have negative self-talk that you don't deserve it, know that that's not true. You do deserve it. And maybe that's also part of what this healing journey needs, is to know that you are worthy of those things. You need it. Security. Oh, okay. So these are checks. Oh, I love that. I love that. It's like time, space, energy, personal power, and love. Bank of self-care. True security comes from having a reserve of time, space, energy, personal power, and love. Make deposits in all of these accounts and you'll be a wealthy person indeed. Oh, nice. Oh, I think it talks a little bit of this abundance. I think you have a lot of like abundance in your life already. And I think it's a bit of this shift of recognizing it and also putting more of your energy into these things. Maybe you felt like you were kind of at the end of your tether because you weren't maybe giving these things to yourself. I also wonder if like maybe there was a bit of disconnect what I said about the abundance here, because I feel like that was a bit, it's not really making sense as I'm thinking about it, because maybe what you had was external abundance, but you felt maybe you feel a bit empty inside. And it was because you weren't pouring into your own cup. You felt empty on that, in an emotional capacity. And I think this card is kind of that. This card is basically saying you need to pour into your own cup. And that can be things like it says, time, space, energy, personal power, and love. You need to pour into that of yourself, which we can all see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this is inner child healing. And once you start pouring into these things, because it's easy to be like, fill your cup, and you think like, well, what does that actually mean? And it can just be like, do what makes you happy. But even that can be like hard to figure out. And sometimes when you're so spent, you're like, I just need practical steps. And I think here it is kind of giving you that. It's saying that like, if you don't feel like you have enough time for yourself or your projects, you make time. You put that space in your calendar. Or maybe you feel like, I don't feel like I have space. Maybe that means that you need to go and declutter. Maybe you feel you're low on energy. Well, maybe it's about having a better night routine, prioritizing this in your life. Maybe you don't feel like you have personal power, even though this is where I was like, I think you do have a lot of personal power, but maybe it's all relative, right? Like you maybe are someone who has that within you, you just don't feel tapped into it. So it's about how do I go into this personal power? And that's also very linked to your solar plexus chakra. So for some of you, maybe that's a good place to start. And so for some, it's love. And, if you don't feel you have love in your life, you start infusing your life with love. And I don't mean like go on a date. I mean, in all your interactions with your friends, you just fill it with so much love, and you just have so many. Also, maybe put things in your environment that you love. And love attracts love. Like attracts like. So it's that idea of that you will have more of that in your life by embracing it and having it in yourself. And maybe you could also just start with self-love. Because the moment you start loving yourself more, these boundaries are going to come up. You're going to pamper yourself. Your cups are going to be filled. So I suggest pick one of these 5 to start. If 2 call to you, maybe pick 2. And see how you can have more. And these will be priorities in your life. And they have them as non-negotiables. Really put in time and put it in your calendar and say like, I'm not budging on this. I need to do this for myself because this is my self-care. And see how your life shifts. And once maybe some of these you feel like either you're able to take care of them or they're kind of like on autopilot, you can start looking at the others. I don't advise doing all 5 at once because that seems really overwhelming, especially with the work that you're already doing. Maybe it's also a bit like you think, oh, but where am I going to have the time to do this work? You're going to make time. You're going to make that space and energy. All of this is linked. And also I see it's so linked to this. So yeah, that's how you're going to start. And then my last card is love. Oh, it's just what we were saying. Just what I was talking about, having more love. Maybe this is also just the confirmation that love is where you need to start. And often, I always think it starts with ourselves. We gotta love ourselves. And I'll be honest, for a very long time, I did not love myself. And it was really hard. I look back and I think that's incredibly sad because I deserve that love and everyone does. And if I don't love myself and cheering myself on, who will? And I do think I do have a lot of people in my life who love me, but you just don't receive it in the same way. If you don't believe in what they're saying, you don't hear it. You don't want to hear it because you think, oh, they're wrong. They're biased. But the minute you start giving yourself this attention And what really worked for me was mirror affirmations. That work was really good. You know, I couldn't even say I love you in the mirror. And when I started doing that, it was really hard. I felt it was so cringy. I was like, why am I even doing this? But the more I did it, the more I think I just also rewired my brain to be like, I deserve this. And also really taking compliments. I think that was also a big one. When someone complimented me, instead of bashing it away, just truly receiving it and saying thank you. Like, yeah. So my mirror affirmations also consisted of, or like, it consisted of saying 10, I looked in the mirror and I said 10 things that I love about myself that I could see in the mirror. And for me, my stomach and my hips have always been like big things for me that were hard to love. And I still do it to this day where I will say those things first. I love my stomach. I love my smile. I love my eyes. I love how beautiful I am. I say 10 things. And the reason why I do that is to validate myself. Because if you don't validate yourself, you seek validation outward. So this is what I learned from a YouTuber, or no, he's not actually a YouTuber. He's on Instagram. His name is Geraint Jones, I'm pretty sure. And he's like a spiritual teacher. But this was his practice, and I adopted it, and it did really help. And it's a way for me to validate myself. And then I would also say affirmations. Things like, well, I love you was very big. And I say them 3 times. Each affirmation I say 3 times because apparently it takes 3 times to go through all of our layers of our aura. So I say them 3 times. And you'll have to say like affirmations that you feel called to. But yeah, that was my journey of self-love. And if that helps any of you guys, like, I hope it does. But let's read the quote. Love people. Love them with all your heart. Just be sure to love yourself first. Exactly. So this is your journey and how you're going to feel more secure in yourself. It's a very, I know there's going to be some hardships, but you are going to feel like a whole new person at the end of this. I can just feel it. And yeah, good luck with this journey. I think it's going to go, I think it's going to be for the best, for sure. Thank you so much for joining me in this reading. I hope this resonated and helped. I would love to hear from you guys in the comments. Definitely like the video, hit subscribe if it resonates, and I'll hopefully see you in an upcoming reading. Thank you so much. Bye.